For this evening's class, we only need a mat and a block. I'm going to sit down in hero's pose. So we're going to have the block portrait towards the heels, knees forwards on the center line, and heels and toes pointing out so the heels can slide along the outside edges of the hips there. If you stay there for a while, breathe. I'm just going to make sure I've turned the mail off so it doesn't continue to bing at us, and it hasn't. That's good. Wasn't sure if I'd turned that off or not. So just sitting easy, giving a chance for the knees to open up, the ankles, chance to have the pelvis in a neutral position, which means much easier to get the spine stacked up above it. I'm going to bring the hands together, just interlacing gently in front of the body. So rolling the forearms against each other, up and down, and that's creating the rotation through the wrists for me. It has the other benefit of it slightly stretches out the back of the shoulders as well. The shoulders are slightly rounded to bring the forearms together. I'm going to see if I can rock those the other way as well. And we'll just take out the fingers a little bit. I'm going to take some shoulder strokes, so starting to draw them back, getting the shoulders to move in the opposite direction. Nice and slow. If it happens to coordinate with your breath, that's fine. If it's not coordinating, that's fine as well. And I'm going to release from there. I'm going to lift up, just move that block out towards the front of the mat, off to the side. Allow myself to take the knees wide now. You can stretch the legs out if you need to before you sit back down onto the heels. And we'll have the hands directly underneath the shoulders, leaning forwards a little bit. So we're getting a little bit of a stretch into the wrists. We're kind of pouring at the floor, just lifting the heel of the hand, keeping the knuckles pressing lightly into the floor. So we're getting a stretch into the fingers, palm of the hand, rocking it out from side to side a little bit. And taking the opportunity to spread the fingers as wide apart as you can at the same time. And then we're going to turn the hands, the fingers pointing outwards, thumbs forwards. And still getting that little bit of a pouring sensation, rocking from side to side. Seeing how the forearms and the wrists feel about being stretched out. And I'll see if I can turn the fingers towards me, thumbs out. Heel of the hand on the ground. That's the important thing. If the heel of the hand is not on the floor, you walk the hands closer towards you. So the shoulders are more over the wrists. Allow yourself to work with whatever range of motion you have in your wrists, which could be anything from a lot to very little. But just as a reference, the funny bone is pointing towards you. Thumbs are pointing out. I'm going to lift up just enough to take the weight out of the hands, walk the fingers all the way up to the front of the mat, allow myself to fold down into child's pose, keeping the elbows off the ground, just bringing the forehead down to touch. And lifting carefully up onto all fours. We'll move into a plank, so just bringing the toes underneath, stretching the legs out a little bit, keeping the hips as high as the shoulders, so getting used to the idea of weight bearing and taking some abdominal work into lift, pressing out through the heels so I can start to feel the thighs contract a little bit, drawing the knees towards me, or kneecaps. Now slowly lift the hips up and allow the hands to walk through down dog towards the back of the mat into a forward standing bend. Just taking the time to come in, softening the knees as much as you need to, letting the ribs sit on the thighs, and making sure the fingertips are touching the floor, taking a little bit of weight out of the legs for you. Now, if you've already warmed up and you've been fairly active through the day, you might well be able to have straight legs. But if you've been sitting all afternoon, stuck in a car for a long period of time, things like that, or standing for a long time, you might need a little more time for those back of the legs to open up. So we'll take a few more breaths here. And just checking that the weight is fairly even through the foot, front, back, and side. Now we'll begin to progress from here, bringing the hands onto the shins and lifting halfway up. Just rolling the shoulders back, belly drawn in. We'll fold down to the floor. Come back up again, onto the shins, breathing in. And exhale it down. We'll take one more. And folding down. Bring the hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift up slowly with soft knees and a flat back. We'll take the arms out wide, palms together above the shoulders, just sitting back into chair. We'll take a breath. Bring the hands in towards the heart, extend the chest forwards as the legs open, and then fold down to the floor again. Bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and flat backs to lift up again. Get the arms out nice and wide. Again, just bringing the palms over the top of the shoulders. We sit down, evenly into both legs. Take the breath in. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Extend out and over. The hips down to the floor. Hands onto the hips again. Soft knees for the lift. We'll take those arms out wide again and above the shoulders with the palms. Sitting down. Inhale. Hands into the heart. Open the legs out. Fold forwards from that right angle. Walking the fingers towards the front of the mat again, coming towards down dog. And do want to bring your fingers right into the front edge of the mat, so you might need to move around a little bit. I'll take a breath here and draw the right knee towards the chest. We're going to bring that foot through into a lunge. Drop the back heel down, and we're lifting to warrior two. So bringing the hands alongside. We'll take the left hand slowly up in the cartwheel. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Down to the floor. Step it back into down dog. We'll draw the left leg through. Drop the heel. Hands alongside. Allow ourselves to lift up. Take the breath in, hands to the heart. Rotate down to the floor. Spin the back heel this time to the sky. We're stepping into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, lift up. Bring the hands above the head, palms together this time. In towards the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Stepping the left foot back, dropping the heel in. Hands alongside to warrior two. Into the heart with the hands, breath in. Down to the floor. We'll step it back into down dog. And draw the left knee through. Lunge. Warrior two, this time to the right side. Cartwheeling up. Hands to the heart. Down to the floor. Heel spins to the sky. We'll step into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips, we'll lift up. Hands wide, arms together above the head, through the heart, softening down to the floor. Taking the breath, left foot back into lunge. Heel in, warrior two for the left. But this time we'll turn the palm on the front hand for reverse warrior. So just gently flowing through. Coming back again, hands into the heart, breath in. Down to the floor, spin the heel to the sky, the lunge, that forward bend. We'll bring the hands to the hip, lift up. Then the hands above, through the heart. Down to the floor, breath in. Right leg back into lunge, drop in the heel, and open into warrior two. Remember reverse warrior, seamlessly on the breath. Back into warrior two. Hands to the heart, down to the floor. Spin the heel skywards and into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift up. Inhale high. We'll go to each side again, exhaling down. Take the breath. Left leg back, heel drops in, hands alongside. We'll open up gently. Palm on the front hand, reverse warrior, breathe in. Ease back in, hands towards the heart. Down to the floor, spin the heel, lunge, take the breath. Push off the toes, forward bend. Hands on the hips, we'll lift up, final side. Hands onto the hip. And we're going to lift up. I'm going to step about halfway down the mat. Allow ourselves to take the hands out in front. Breathe in. Lift onto the tiptoes. Going to slowly ease the knees into a bend. So squatting down. Until the thighs are about parallel to the ground. So it's more of a sense of feeling. Try not to drop the bum too low. Keep the tummy drawn in. Just looking ahead at the front of your mat. Eyes fixed and focused. And then we're going to lift our way back up. So try not to lean forwards too much. Keep the heels off the ground. Take your time to lift. And back into standing. We'll step back forwards into the front of the mat. The hands come high on the breath in through the heart, and exhale down to the floor. You can take the right foot back this time into lunge and drop the back knee down to the floor and tuck the toes. Low crescent. So I'm going to float the hands alongside the body, leaning into that front thigh. Lift the hands up out in front in line with the body, palms facing in. Draw the belly in as a press into the back shin and the front foot to lift up. Inhale, bring the hands down to the floor. Put the toe on the back foot, press out through the back heel, step it into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips, so lift up. Take that high through the heart to the floor. Breath in. Left leg back into lunge. Drop the knee, untuck the toes, through the hands alongside again. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale to come up. Breath at the top. Hands to the floor. Tuck the toe on the back, press out through the heel. Step it into the front of the mat. Hands on the hips. We'll go one more time to each side. Inhale. Hands to the heart. Exhale down. Right leg back into the lunge. Knee drops down, untuck the toes. Hands swoop alongside the body. A little bit of a chance to stretch the shoulders back. Pause as you lengthen out. Then lift. Draw the breath in. Get a nice stretch into that front thigh on the back leg. Hands to the floor. Tuck the toes. Press out through the heel. Step it into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and we'll lift up. Inhale high. Hands to the heart. Exhale it down. Breath in. Left leg back. Knee down, untuck the toes. Hands alongside the body. Lengthen out. Little pause. And lift. Breath here. Hands to the floor. Tuck the toes. Press out through the heel. And into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips and lift up. I'll take the hands in towards the heart. And then inhale the hands towards the sky. Take a breath in as you lengthen up. On the exhale, allow yourself to take that into a little back bend. Breath here. Bring the hands back in towards the heart. And exhale down to the floor. And take a breath here. Send the right foot to the back of the mat into lunge. We bring hands alongside the body, lifting the chest this time, so the back knee stays lifted. It becomes a power lunge when we lengthen out fully with the arms. We'll hold for 5 breaths. Just drawing the front hip of our legs towards the back of the mat a little bit. So rather than skewing the hips around to the side, we press everything backwards. Keep the belly drawn in. Hands come to the floor. We'll step back into down dog. And we'll step the right foot through the front of the mat into a lunge. Take a breath and step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, we'll lift up. Get the hands high through the heart. Exhaling down, taking the breath. This time, left leg back. Fingertips at the beginning of the lift into the high crescent. Lengthen the arms out. Draw that front hip on the right side back a little bit. We'll finally lift up on the inhale and bring the hands to the ground. Step it back into our down dog. We'll draw the left foot through front of the mat. Press out through the back heel. We'll step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift. And bring the hands in towards the heart. Inhale the hands to the sky, palms to the earth. Use the back bend on the exhale. Hands into the heart, breath in. And exhale down to the floor. Then take the left foot to the back of the mat. Drop the heel in. Warrior two for the lift. Then the palm for reverse warrior. Come back. An extended side angle all the way out. Hands to the floor. Take a breath. Lift carefully. Warrior two. We'll take the hands high. Rotate down to the floor. Step it back into down dog. Draw the left foot forwards. Drop the heel in. Lift into warrior two. Turn the palm for reverse warriors. Come back into warrior two. Extend out over the front thigh. Drop that hand down to the floor. Take a little breath. Lift our way up. Warrior two. Hands come high. Down to the floor. We'll step into the front of the mat. Hands on the hips and lift up. Set hands high. Through the heart. Exhaling down. Breath in. Right leg to the back. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside for the warrior two lift. Reverse your warrior. Down to the floor. And as you extend out, we'll come forwards again. Lift the hands high. Down to the ground. Step it back into down dog. Draw the right leg in and through. And drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body. Warrior two for the lift. Reversing warrior. Coming back into warrior two. Extend out. Hand to the ground. Lift it back. Warrior two. Hands to the heart. Down to the floor we go. Spin the back heel. Take a breath. Step into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips and you can lift up. We'll inhale high. Hands into the heart. Just bring hands to the side of the body. Mountain pose. We'll take a moment here. Catch the breath. Let some heat out. Make sure the feet feel parallel, aligned to each other. Bring the hands towards the heart. Inhale high. We'll take it into that little back bend again. Ease the hands in towards the heart. Breath in. And fall gently down to the floor. And take a breath. Allow ourselves to soften the knees. We'll bring the hands forwards. Run out of room there and bumped into the wall a little bit. Bring our hands in towards the heart from our chair pose. And take a breath. Let the legs open out. The body's at 90 degrees. Then fold down after that. Pause the hold. Take a breath. We'll step the left and the right to the back of the mat. We're going to take the right foot about halfway forwards on the mat. Turn the toes out to the side. Drop onto the left foot side edge and allow the right hand to lift up. And press into that front foot as well as the back leg to lift the hips high. You'll know that you're doing that because your head kind of tends to drop a little bit. Side bend, side plank with the foot forwards. And then we'll bring the hands back down to the ground. Step it back into down dog. Press it out high. We'll draw the opposite leg. So left leg comes forward halfway down the mat now to the side a little bit. Drop onto that right-sided foot. Left hand lifts, hips lift. And we'll bring the hands down. Step back into our down dog. We'll draw the left foot and right foot forwards into a forward bend. Bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. Then we'll bring the hands into the heart, take a little back bend. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Fold down into a forward bend. And we're softening the knees again to sit into chair. Taking the hands forwards. Take a little breath. Hands into the heart. Hinge forwards. Down to the floor. We're stepping back into our down dog. Taking the left foot halfway along the mat. We roll onto that right side edge. Left hand lifts, hips lift. Now we'll bring the hands down. The down dog, stretch it out at the back. Right foot comes halfway forwards, out to the side of the toes. Right arm lifts, hips high. Bring the hands down. Step it back into dog and stretch those hips out. Bring the symmetry back in. I draw the right foot forwards into lunge. Press off the toes into the forward bend. Hands over the hips. Let ourselves lift. Hands into the heart as we breathe in. Inhale high. Little back bend. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Going to step back with the right foot. Hands to come around to the long side of the mat. We're going to turn the toes out. We're going to come into a ninja squat. We're going to go to the back of the mat. So we're going to allow the rear heel to lift off the ground so we can sit down to that. Front leg, we want to press out through the heel so we can feel this thigh draw in a little bit, toes towards the sky. We're going to take a breath and allow ourselves to move gently to the front end of the mat. Just squatting down, hands in front of the body. We get a little breath here. We'll go to the rear of the mat again. We're going to do 3 to each side. And lift again. Travel to the front. Walking the fingers in towards the body, gradually taking the weight out of the hands. Go to the end of the mat for the last time. So pay attention to try not to press the knee down. It's about the heel going out, get that contraction. We'll take it to the front of the mat for the last time. And we'll walk the fingers around towards the front end of the mat. I'm going to step forwards into a deep fold. Take a breath. Start from the knees. We're going to lift into chair pose again, taking the hands forwards. Drive our way up into a little back bend. Bring the hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Step it back with the left leg. Walk the fingers around to that long side. This time we're going to turn the toes in, take a breath. Allow ourselves to fold towards the ground, over the hips. Just drawing the elbows together a little bit so they feel like they're pressing in. We'll lift up, breath in. Turn the toes out. Allow ourselves to walk towards the back of the mat. Come up onto the fingertips. Take a breath. We'll move towards the front of the mat. Feet down. We'll come back to the center. Hands on the floor. Toes in, heels out. We'll lift, get some space in the spine and fold again. Lifting that a little bit. Turn the toes out. We go towards the back of the mat into the squat. We travel towards the front of the mat. Come back to the center. Turn the toes in. Heels out on the fingertips. Spine is long. We fold for the last time. Lifting the hips high, pressing the feet into the floor, and the back of the legs open. Belly drawn in. Last breath. Lift up halfway, and then walk fingers through to the front of the mat. We'll step forwards. Take a breath. Bring the hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift slowly back up. Hands into the heart. We breathe in. We'll take it into a little back bend. And then rest the hands out to the sides. I'm going to step into the front of the mat again. Just take mountain pose for a moment. Close the eyes if you wish, there's time. And then we'll open the eyes again. Bring the hands to the heart as we breathe in. Soften the knees, folding forwards down to the ground. Taking a breath and soften the knees into squat, to chair pose. Bring the hands in towards the heart as we breathe in. Extend out and over the sides and down to the floor. And take a little breath and step back, right and left into down dog. We'll come forwards into a plank. And we're going to take the feet to the left. So the right hand is lifted. And we're going to use these for sort of twisting version. So we're going to bring the right hand under and just tap out to the left side, lift it up. Take it under, squeezing the air out, inhaling up, squeezing it under, bringing it back, taking it through, coming back, and through. Now swoop the hands down to the floor, come back into high plank. Lift up and stretch back into down dog. Come forwards into plank. Take the feet to the opposite side. Left hand comes up. Keep the hips high, breath in. Use the exhale to twist underneath and lift up. So one foot is definitely staying flat to the floor. The foot's on the side edge is rocking around a little bit. That's not a problem. Come through for the last time. Bring the hand to the floor. Into plank. Down dog. Walk the hands into the toes. Hopefully the feet are about hip distance apart. Sink it into chair pose again. So ribs and thighs touch. Put the hands forwards in line, palms in. Drive through the legs to lift. In that squatting position. Just dropping the hands down and we'll walk towards the front of the mat. Now bring the hands in towards our heart. Take a breath in and exhale down to the floor. We'll step back into down dog. I'm going to take the left foot under and out towards the right side. So the thighs are crossed over. As we move into plank, we'll slide that foot forwards out to the right side. Drop the back heel onto the ground. Allow the right hand to lift. Bring the hands back down. Ease our way back into down dog. Cross the opposite foot over. Move forward into the plank, slide in that foot out to the side edge. Drop the heel in and open up. We'll come back to down dog. We'll take a little breath. Cross over to the other side. Come forward. Slide the foot through. Drop the heel out. Open it up. Bring the hand down. Back to dog. Crossing right underneath. Coming forwards into the plank. Foot out to the side, 90 degrees to the body. Lift it up and open. Coming back. And stepping one more time into down dog. We'll actually bring the knees to the floor. Allow ourselves to sit down onto the heels and bring the hands underneath the forehead. Elbows out wide so we can catch our breath in child's pose. Now, it's not the easiest place to catch your breath, but Hopefully your spine feels like it's warmed up enough that as you breathe into your diaphragm, the spine can make space and accommodate the requirement for the bellows to fill. And let the hands come forwards again. Lift up onto all fours, the top toes, under, down dog. Oops, I even caught my t-shirt then. I'm going to draw the left knee in towards the chest and bring the foot through between the hands. I'm going to drop the back foot down and lift into warrior two. I'm going to take that into reverse warrior again. Allow yourself to come forwards into the extended side angle. Allow that bottom hand to come all the way down to the ground. I'm going to take a breath from here and extend the top arm out towards the front of the mat. Palm faces down. Trying to keep the chest as open as I can to the long side. And then I'm going to bring the hand down to the floor. So turning the chest in. So both hands now on the inside of this front leg. I'm going to walk fingers around the long side of the mat, turning the toes in. I'm going to take a breath from there. Walk the fingers in a semicircle around towards the front foot, taking hold of the ankle and drawing my chest across that thigh on the front leg. So it's a wide leg forward fold, just out to the side with the body, elbows wide. Try to avoid drawing your chin towards the thigh. Try to bring the ribs down. I'm going to release gently, walk the hands around to the other side, which probably wasn't a complete surprise. Take a little breath. Elbows go out wide, and we draw the chest onto the thigh. Still squeezing the thighs together very lightly, pressing down into the feet and lifting the hips skybound. Quite a lot of work outside of the sort of the basic shape that we're in. And then we'll walk the hands around in the semicircle. We're coming all the way to the front of the mat, spinning the feet with us so we're into the lunge. We're going to step into a forward bend. Bring the hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift up. We'll strip the arms out, widen up towards the sky, through the heart and down to the floor. Exhaling down to the ground. Taking the left foot back this time, dropping the heel in. We've got warrior two, followed by reversed warrior. Followed by the extended side angle, lengthening out. Palm comes down. We take a moment to breathe. Turn the top palm towards the front of the mat. Extend that out. And trying to get to a point where you think your palm is parallel to the ground. And then we'll bring that hand down to the floor, turning the chest to the ground. We'll take a breath and walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat. Take the breath in. We'll walk the fingers to the back of the mat this time. Take hold of the ankle. Draw the chest onto the sides. We'll walk the hands around in that nice big semicircle. Come into the front of the mat. Water the ankle. Exhale our way in. And then back into the center of that long side of the mat. The body's lifted, put the softness in the knees, bring the hands onto the hips, elbows drawn back, and we'll lift up. We'll zigzag the toes in and back underneath the body. Take a little turn towards the front of the mat. Step it into the very front end. Put hands high on the inhale, through heart, and exhale down to the floor. We'll take a breath. And send the right and the left foot back into down dog. We're going to come into flip dog this time, so we're going to scissor the right leg high, bend the knee, bring the heel in towards the butt, spin onto the side edge of that left foot as we take the right foot over to the left side of the mat to open up. We'll take a breath. Top arm comes up and over, leg lengthens up, and feet come to the floor. I have to be a bit careful not to kick any of my TV and stand across. Slide around on the mats and carpets today, so I'm not entirely sure what's going wrong with the positioning of my mat. So the left leg comes up, bend the knee, roll out to the right, roll gently, open up, lift up, and back, down dog, feet to the floor, knees to the ground again. Take a little breath and allow ourselves to sit down into chair pose. Oh, child's pose. Close. Lifting the head to look towards the front of the mat. Bringing the hands a little more towards me. Going to tuck the toes underneath. Allow the knees to lift away from the ground. Still want to squeeze the thighs together. Gradually walk the fingers in. I'm going to take them away from the ground and just let the hands come out in front of the body. Our palms are facing down to the floor. Hands are level with the shoulders. A little bit of a squeeze of the thighs together. And we'll let the hands come to the floor. We're going to see if we can take the feet out to the side. If you need to bring the block back in to give yourself a chance to come into a squat, you can do. We're going to take the feet quite wide. Normally, if we're using the block, the feet are a little closer. And I'm going to drop the bottom down, but I'm actually going to round the spine, drop the head, and just walk the fingers forward. So on the fingertips. I'm going to lift the head, lift the hips up, step the feet back just enough so that I can bring the knees down to the ground again. I'm going to sit down onto the heels. Bring hands together into prayer. Allow yourself to just press the heels of the hands together a little bit so you can feel contraction across the shoulders and the chest. It's like a isometric contraction here. We're just pressing gently one hand against the other. And then we can release, let that fade away. As it happens, we'll take the knees wide and come down into child's pose. And if you're able to keep your your heels and your buttocks connected and your forehead to the ground, you can take your hands towards your toes. It's a nice way of relaxing the neck and the shoulders. If you aren't able to get your bottom and your heels together and your head on the floor, then just bring your hands underneath your forehead. And we'll bring your hands forward and then lift the head just enough so we can walk the fingers over to the right side into side bend version of child's pose. And we'll lift the head, walk the hands over to the other side. And we'll come back to the center. Looking the hands in, and untangle the legs a little bit by just taking the feet out to the side and sitting on the bottom. Legs out in front, give them a little bit of a stretch. And then sitting up tall, I'm going to take the left foot out towards the right hip and the right leg across. I want to make sure both sitting bones are on the ground. And I'll take that left hand up and across over towards the right side. So seated twist. And relax the bottom leg. And we're going to repeat that to the opposite side. So legs come out and wrap around. And allow the right hand to lift, take us over towards the left. And try and soften the bottom leg, pull the shoulders back a little bit out of the way. and round again. Untangling. We're going to come into Shavasana, so just, I'm going to use the block underneath the back of the head. Not necessarily the only way of working. You can have your head flat to the floor, as I've many times before. Just having the head lifted a little bit allows me to look at the clock without straining my neck. So that's my main reason for that. However, if you're not going to use the block, make sure it doesn't press into your neck or your shoulders, just under the head. Let the hands come out to the side, palms up. And then use the toes to walk the feet out to the corner edges of the mat. Slide the heels away. Let the toes roll out to the side. As you close your eyes, let the tongue drop from the roof of your mouth, loosen your jaw, let your shoulders sink into the ground. Feel the muscles in your back release. Let that transfer to the front of your chest, down your ribs. Allow them to soften. Feel that across the top of your hips and through your groins and down your legs, all the way to your toes. Through the back of your calves, back of your knees, back of your thighs, your buttocks, and your tailbone, sinking and releasing. Breathe a little deeper. Begin to wriggle the toes and the fingers. Allow the wrists and the ankles to join in. Just slowly bringing the nervous system back into the room, into our bodies. Allow yourself to stretch in any way that follows your instincts. And then if you're not already, we're going to slide the heels along the ground towards us, just keeping the legs in contact with the floor the whole time until we're ready to draw the knees in towards the body. With the lightest of hugs, hands around the shins. We'll rock a little bit from side to side to gently build some momentum. And then on an exhale, rolling on to your right side, keeping the knees towards you. And letting the hands come to the floor by the side of the mat to press away on the exhale smoothly back to sitting. And then we're able to sit up tall, bring the hands in towards the heart. As we close the eyes and take a long breath in. Begin to slowly exhale, letting the chin drop. Finding the belly drawn to the spine, simply bow to the floor, sealing your practice for the evening. As the breath comes back in, let it build the spine. Let the head lift, the eyes open, and a stay. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for joining me on the mat. Hope to see you again soon.